Enemy captured Zone B.
What's up, ladies and gents? This is KSigKid, coming at you with another Destiny video. That's right, I am infected. I'm infected in Destiny. The Rise of Iron is coming out in just a few days, and in case you've been living under a rock, if you've been in the tower, you've seen these Guardians with these crazy lights flying around their heads. Now, my lights are only green. I'm only infected with the green stuff, but we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. This is just an awesome little secret and an awesome little preview that Bungie's doing in advance of the Rise of Iron. So I'm going to look around the tower and see if anybody else is infected in here. And yeah, look at this guy. Holy crap, he probably has everything going on. What about the rest? My tower is pretty empty actually. But you can see that if you're going in and playing Destiny, you too might become infected. And is this a good thing? Well, if we take a look at my infection, it looks like I have Brilliance 3.2, and by being infected, I end up gaining increased experience and reputation gains as long as I'm infected. So that sounds like a really nice thing. And last night, I was on my Warlock, I was playing around, I was trying to get infected by all the different viruses, but it just didn't end up happening. I only got Brilliance. It's still pretty cool though. And even though this is in advance of the Rise of Iron in a preview, this isn't the first time that Bungie's actually done these sneak peeks and little secrets before something else came around. It started back all the way with the Dark Below. In the Dark Below, we ended up seeing on patrols that Blades of Crota started spawning in. So these Blades of Crota spawned in, and you could go ahead and fight them whenever you eventually took them down, because they had a little bit of health. They had a little bit of health even though he was a level 6. And whenever he goes down, he dropped a sword of Crota that you could then pick up and utilize for at least a few moments in the game. Infinite energy. This was actually our first experience ever in using swords in Destiny. And let me tell you, it was a lot of fun. So this is something that came out just in advance of the Dark Below. Nobody was really expecting it. People that first started seeing these blades, these sword knights out on patrols, they were like, holy crap, and everybody just started getting excited. They were like, wow, look at this. Are we going to get swords? What does this mean? Well, we know that we didn't get swords in the Dark Below, but we know that swords were absolutely vital for taking down Crota, for defeating the raid, for beating everything, and who knew that it was actually going to be a precursor for actually having our own swords, our own exotic swords in the game. None of us exactly knew what was going on with swords whenever we first picked them up, but they became pretty much an integral part of the story, especially with the Taken King, and I'm really glad that we have those. Super move. That was awesome. So swords are really cool, right? But in advance of the House of Wolves, Bungie took it another step further. There were packs of wolves that were prowling around. Whenever you took them down with the Scorch cannons and beat them, there was a random wolf chest that spawned in your patrol location. They would spawn in set points, but sometimes the maps that you didn't really frequent, or the really big ones, were pretty difficult to find. But in the beginning, whenever you open up a chest, you could then phase out and phase back into an area and open up the same chest multiple times. People were dying and clamoring to get not only Ingrams, but also these treasure keys that were out there. So people were just in there, they were going into patrols, they were farming these wolf chests over and over and over again. It worked really well with teammates in the same fire team together, and it was a ton of fun. Absolutely amazing. In fact, I don't think that Bungie should have patched this out, being able to farm the chest. I think it was an amazing minigame that they accidentally put in. But that's just my personal opinion. That was always my personal opinion. I think this was a lot of fun. This was a really nice hype leading into the House of Wolves. I thought it was great. But for the Rise of Iron, Bungie's kind of taking it even a little bit further. What they did was they created this Owl Sector website, and in it, you can see as the infection is spreading, the map is becoming more and more covered. So it's crazy. We're not even 2 full days since our first infection started, and some people are mentioning that it might have started with Lono, Say No to Rage. And from that, look at where we came. Look at where we came. The entire world is almost covered by the infection. And what you can actually do is you can go and see all of these different infections and read little story tidbits. And actually, this story isn't done yet. But if you want to see who's actually talking, if you go ahead over and swap this to Spanish, you can actually see the full names of the people that are talking. So you can go ahead and read their full transcripts of what is going on. but this is actually pretty awesome and pretty amazing. Yesterday, whenever I was at work, I happened to take a look at this site just to see where it was at, and since then, there have been even more entries that have been unlocked. I'm guessing this is based on how many people are infected, how many people are getting infected with all of the different viruses, and by that, you can go ahead in here and you can read some of the lore of what's going on right now. Cade is obviously very excited by these nanites that are going around, and the rest of the Vanguard, Zavala, Akora Ray, they aren't really too excited about it. But they are doing a little bit of testing on civilians, and it doesn't seem to be going well for them. And other Guardians, yeah, they're digging it. So this is pretty awesome. This is pretty amazing. Even Shax, he's a little bit upset that all of these infections are going on in his Crucible. He's like, wait a second, this stuff shouldn't be in my Crucible. And whenever I read that, I was like, oh man, I can't believe it. What ended up happening in the last Iron Banner, I ended up talking about the fact that I thought it would be really great and really amazing if the Iron Banner ended up happening before the Rise of Iron. I thought it would be amazing if we had an Iron Banner going on this week, and it ended on the Monday, and then whenever Tuesday ended up coming around and the Rise of Iron dropped, boom, we were led right into the beginning of the story. I think that would have been an amazing bit of storytelling, and honestly, we're almost there. Basically, these infections are spreading in Crucible, and it only makes sense that we could have done a whole entire story with the Iron Banner leading into the Rise of Iron. I'm kind of sad that Bungie just missed that. I'm sad that they missed that ability to do that, because it would have been great if these various infections started spreading through the Iron Banner, and then Saladin, he was like, you know what, enough is enough, I've got to step in, and boom, we're into our first Rise of Iron story. I don't know exactly what's going to go on as far as the story in the Rise of Iron at all. I've been avoiding all of the story spoilers and everything, because I just want to experience that on myself. And I just think that it would have been really cool, but who knows, maybe that doesn't fit into the narrative. But still, this is a pretty cool thing. Basically, I understand why they ended up thinking about and doing this. How many people, how many Year 1 players do you remember that anytime they talk about the Nightfall, they talk about the blue flames, the blue experience flames on their heads, and they love it. So this is kind of Bungie's way to throw us back to that nostalgic era. And that's kind of what Rise of Iron is all about. Gjallarhorn's coming back, blue flames in some essence is coming back, giving us an experience boost. Are we going to be able to get this whenever the Rise of Iron's coming out? Maybe. Maybe this is going to be something that we can pick up every week. I have no idea. Last night I was on my Hunter, and I was just in some private matches, you can see right here, trying to see if I could get any additional viruses to come onto my Hunter. I could not. Then, after doing our private matches, I swapped over to my Warlock, who was absolutely clean, and I jumped into Crucible match after Crucible match after Crucible match. I never left the queue, but as soon as I picked up my first infection, my Brilliance 3.2, I was then unable to grab any other infections. So it seems like, at least upon my experiences, it seems like people that are saying that you can only get a bunch of infections once. You can only get infected once. So people are out there, they're looking for people that have all of the different infections, and they're like, come on, come into my private game, let me kill you once, let me get all 5 of those different infections all at once. Because if you're like me, and you happen to pick up just one, just Brilliance on 2 of your characters, you're not going to be able to get any others. So I still have my Titan available. My Titan is still fresh, he is not infected at all, and I'd like to see if somehow I can get him to grab a whole bunch of different infections, just to see what they're all about, because the only one I've seen is Brilliance 3.2, and that seems to be the most prominent one. That seems to be the one that most everybody has. But again, it seems like once you actually get one, you can't get any more. You can't get any more. Now, do I think this is going to reset by the time the Rise of Iron comes out? I kind of do. I just get this little feeling, this sense, that this might be some type of weekly thing going on. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be something that goes on for eternity with Destiny and the Rise of Iron, or if it's just something that's going on right now. It's a pretty neat and pretty interesting thing. It's going to be interesting to see how it actually all ties into our story, how it ties into our Rise of Iron experience, and how it ties into our gameplay. But one thing's for sure, Bungie's doing a little bit of a sneak preview, and it's pretty cool, and people enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, guys and gals, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smack that like button, and subscribe to the channel. Check out these awesome videos. Good luck with your raids, your drops, your Rise of Iron, and I'll see you around in Destiny. Space herpes.